With the introduction of events in Hunt Showdown, we have had the privilege of being introduced to new game mechanics such as on-fire garbage cans, and of course, everyone's favorite, the Infernal Pact. I'm just kidding. I know you all love the Lunar Pact. I mean, who can deny the usefulness of those extra health bars after you've been put into the ground? Wait, what? Death Cheat? That's the most popular trait? But, Death Cheat, but all it does is take the fun out of the game. Death Cheat takes the fun out of Hunt Showdown. What a statement. Let's unpack that for a few minutes. Ever since the introduction of Devil's Moon, Death Cheat has heavily influenced the game, specifically through self-revives and easy level 50 hunters, with self-revives being the bigger and more interesting of the two. Because the reality is, getting level 50 hunters through Death Cheat just allows you to hang on to your favorite perks a little while longer. And one of the biggest controversies around self-revives revolves around whether or not it should stay in the game after the event ends. Now, generally speaking, I think that this wouldn't have too much effect on most of the fights in the game, especially since you would have to be a solo to even self-revive, which I've only even seen a few times throughout the event. In addition, I believe most people would not only know about this mechanic, but would also quickly come to the realization they were fighting a solo player long before the fight ended. For example, when you, as a team of 2 or 3, are fighting an enemy, you can usually tell when you're only going against one person, as there is significantly less pressure overall. Usually this is discovered pretty early on in a fight due to less gunshots and a solo not being able to capitalize on small openings that are created by your rotations, their rotations, or just some really well placed shots. Once this is discovered, if the solo is down, their body will probably be trapped or at least burned if no nearby traps are available and none were brought into the match by the winning team, ultimately negating the advantage of bringing in a self-revive perk in the first place. Basically, my point is that for the most part, a best case scenario would result in the solo being burnt out and left with only 50 health when they finally decide to get up. And that's even assuming that if Death Cheat stayed after the event ended, it would remain exactly the same. This also comes with a huge time sink for the solo player, just to roll the dice and see if they can get back up. Because, well, like I said, if the people who put you down are running traps and you're in the bayou all by yourself, then whenever you get up, there may just be concertina wire waiting for you, put you back down. Now, the other reason that Death Cheat is a popular choice is due to the fact that it makes Hunt more enjoyable and accessible due to the gear fear that is associated with losing your hunter at any given time is reduced, if not entirely removed. Now, understand the training wheels that Death Cheat provides to newer or less experienced players may be nice, but honestly, I personally feel as if Death Cheat cheats, no pun intended, players out of the satisfaction that comes from seeing a hunter all the way to level 50. In fact, I would say at this point in Hunt Showdown's life, it is the only thing that really provides tension in any given game of Hunt. This is especially true to Hunt, as there is no wipe mechanic, so most people could lose weapons and tools that are worth thousands 10 times over, and they would still not care about the gear they lost. Probably. Now, of course, there are the guys at Prestige, but I go ahead and argue that if you're one of these people, then you probably don't really care about your weapons and Hunt dollars because those who Prestige lose all of their belongings on a regular basis. You lose all your gear every time you hit level 100. So yeah, back to my main point here. Hunters of high level, say 30 and up, are the only reason that dying is even kind of scary in Hunt. And well, Death Cheat has removed this, and because of that, I think if self-revive were to say, it would have to be the only aspect of Death Cheat that isn't removed. Everything else that revolves around keeping your hunter level 50, in my opinion, needs to go. Real quick, before we get into why self-revive may not be good for the game, let's talk about those other two packs you forgot existed. As the lunar and infernal packs provide interesting traits that definitely changes the game, just a little less so than self-revive. Now, yes, I am more referring to the Lunar Pact here because the Infernal Pact, all it does is protect you from some fire. So I get it. Not very game-changing. But the Lunar Pact, now this is where things can get interesting. Maybe even more so than self-revives. I mean, putting someone in the dirt and then seeing them get back up just to eat a spark shot because they kept all their health bars, now that's game break. Basically, I just wanted to bring up the fact that if self-revives stay, I think that maybe some of the other new traits should stay too. Because there are more than just the one. You do know that, don't you? Don't you? Anyways, now that I'm done with my Lunar Pact rant, back to what's important. Self-revive. Now, I think I have thoroughly explained that the trait itself isn't bad. It could use some changes, like maybe no self-revives after being burned out. maybe no infinite self-revives, even if you're holding bounty, but balancing this trait is a conversation for another day. Right now, I would like to bring your attention to how a self-revive perk would change the game. I think that due to the paranoia of your everyday hunt player, burning would become an extremely common practice. It's already pretty common, but I think that adding in self-revive just provides more reasons to burn people. And, I'm being honest, more burning of fellow hunters is going to have to get put down as a negative in my book. But actually, burning down hunters is not even really a negative game mechanic. But, damn is it annoying. And I'm just not a fan of it. I also believe that keeping self-revive as a permanent gameplay mechanic would incentivize camping of people's bodies, especially when you take into account all those KD farmers. This camping of bodies would indirectly lead to an overall slower game or games that feel less populated because everyone's just waiting around to get an easy kill. So, to sum it all up, self-revive may increase the amount of bodies people burn, incentivize some KD farming, and slow down the games considerably. That's just some speculation. And even if it did happen, I personally would probably, at most, just burn bodies a little more often. So I guess I've come to the conclusion that I don't really mind self-revive staying after the event has ended, but I don't see the point in keeping it either. Or is it? You see, after taking a long think about self-revive staying in place beyond Devil's Moon, my actual conclusion is that it should go. No questions asked. I think that this event was a great showcase of what Crytek can give us when they really let their creative minds think. The first event, Serpent's Moon, was a real disappointment. It felt like they had just copy and pasted what they had done with Halloween events, Christmas events, and boss events. But Devil's Moon felt as if someone really put a lot of thought into what the players might enjoy, and I think it paid off. It took a bit of a risk and did something that the community has never seen before. And because of this, we've all got to experience Hunt in a new way. But all good things must come to an end. And so I would rather see Death Cheat come off the podium. Not forever. I mean, it could come back at some point. But for now, I would rather see Crytek shine their creative light on something new.